So you want to beat the bouncing skulls, the snake plant, the spiders, and the flower. Well, you've come to the right place. If you haven't watched the first part of my Chapter 7 guide, I recommend you take a look at that first before watching the boss guides. Remember, we will be going through every single boss, their strengths, their weaknesses, the best way to beat the bosses, and on top of that, all of their variations. As I said in the previous video, there are 12 bosses in Chapter 7 with one end boss. Every boss in Chapter 7, except for the end boss, have 5 variations each. This may vary with mobs and level layout. There are 3 sections in Chapter 7. Level 1 to 3 is Section 1, Level 4 to 6 is Section 2, Level 7 to 9 is Section 3, and Level 10 is the end boss. My name is Teeds, and I make many ARCHERO videos from guides, tier lists, news, updates, and more. Please do subscribe and click the bell for more ARCHERO content. I will be given a difficulty rating on each boss based on their sections. Do note that every boss can actually turn out much easier with enough practice. The later bosses are just harder because we don't reach them as often, therefore not getting as much practice in comparison to the earlier bosses. With the variations, when I say take out the mobs first, this does not mean ignore the boss and go straight for the mobs. You have to do it strategically, with good timing, otherwise you'll take a lot of unnecessary hits. Patiently approach the mobs that you need to focus on with some of the variations. Remember, you can level reroll your variations. If you find one variation harder than the other, feel free to reroll it. Let's begin. Section 1 Bosses. Boss number 1, the snake plant. Difficulty, easy. Pattern, 4 slow projectiles in a small spread. 3 fast projectiles in a wide spread. A bunch of random projectiles in a wide spread. 1 fireball will leave lasting flames on the ground. The snake will always use the fire attack twice, so always anticipate 1 more fireball after the first shot. Weaknesses, wingman, slow projectile, shield guard, and ice effects. These ice effects can cancel out the animation and keep the snake in one place from time to time. For tips, the best and easiest tip for this boss is to stand right on top of it. This boss has no collision damage, so you will not take any damage when touching it. Before you do this, make sure you've taken out the mobs surrounding this boss. Sometimes you can get away with attacking the mobs while you're on the boss. This part makes the boss very easy. However, make your way to the boss patiently, do not rush it. If you do, you may take some hits if the boss is quite far away from you. The best time to reach him, if you're not good at avoiding his red projectiles, is to do it when he starts firing his fireballs. Remember, always anticipate 2, they're very easy to avoid. For variations of this boss, you want to take out every mob first before focusing on the boss. For the first variation, snakes. This level has 2 snakes. These 2 small snakes dash at you. Just keep your distance if you don't take them out quick enough. They do pause for a very short time before jumping at you. The second variation, golems or rocks. This can be a difficult variation depending on how good you are at avoiding projectiles. Watch your character for a better chance at avoiding all the attacks. Do not rush this. Third variation, ghost glitchies. This variation is hard. These guys do not aim for you, they just run around but can pretty much zone off areas on the level. They will split into 2. Also, there is a reason why I call them glitches. They will glitch your boss. Even though he has no health left, you will still need to hit him a few more times to take him out. I'm not sure why this isn't fixed yet, but keep this in mind. Fourth variation, archers. There will be 2 archers, one on your left and one on your right. These archers will have the bouncing arrow effect. Do not move right away as you enter the level. You always want to set in their attacks, otherwise you'll give them more range and area. Focus on killing them one at a time. The last variation, the bombs. These guys just throw bombs at you. They attack very slow, so you should be able to avoid these easily while you try and take them out. Moving on to boss number 3, the flower. Difficulty, hard. Pattern, this boss is always placed in the center of the level and does not move. Fires a lot of red projectiles towards you. There are 3 attack patterns, a wide spray with 6 to 8 projectiles, a narrow spray with 5 to 7 projectiles. A random spray in mixed directions. This one is the hardest to avoid. This boss honestly looks like it's about to sneeze every time it fires out its attacks. You can anticipate its attacks if it looks like it's about to sneeze basically. Weaknesses: Wingman, slow projectile, shield guard, laser bat due to the walls in the flower levels, piercing, ricochet, and tornado weapon. For tips, I just stand in the corner on the bottom, left or right side. I anticipate the sneeze and focus on avoiding that. My advice, if you stutter step a lot, sometimes it can mess you up if you're not good at focusing on two things at once. If it looks like it's about to sneeze, just stop stutter stepping and focus on avoiding the projectiles. Some other users have suggested that another way to easily avoid the plant, I do not use this method, but if you want, you can basically go as close as you can to the flower and circle around it. Attack it around 2 to 4 times depending on what weapon you have and then move. You should have moved in time before it could land its attacks on you. For variations of this boss, do not chase the mobs in these levels unless you can time the attacks right with the boss. The more you move around in this level, the easier it is to get hit in my opinion and experience. For the first variation, flowers. This variation is the easiest variation. Ignore the flower at the back, just kill the one on the right first, and then focus on the boss. Second variation, flowers with walls. This variation is pretty annoying. Try and take out the flower on the left. It can be quite hard to reach the flower on the left due to the wall. If you cannot kill it, this variation will be very difficult. If you watch the footage here, I kind of just go back and forth in hopes of reaching him, but the wall keeps blocking my attacks. Ignore the one on the top. Third variation, firebombs. There will be 2 on the level. Focus on avoiding all of their attacks. Do not chase the mob, just wait until they get close enough. Fourth variation, tornadoes. Difficult variation. You may need a lot of damage to take them out quickly. Take out one mob at a time. I kind of hide behind the wall here, moving back and forth. The wind projectiles will stop once they hit a wall, so use that middle wall to your advantage. The last variation, laser bats. This variation is very hard. If you have piercing or tornado, you have to hope that the laser bat lines up with the flower. The laser bat does not chase you. It keeps its distance and can hide behind walls, making it hard for you to reach them. So what you have to do in this level, if you're unlucky and you haven't killed them, you have to stand there for a second to let the bat's attacks set in while simultaneously avoid the flower's projectiles. I would suggest rerolling this level, otherwise with practice, this level can be easy as well. Boss number 3, the spiders. Difficulty, easy to average, depending on what weapon or ability you have. Pattern, walks around randomly. Sometimes will follow you. Will pause every few seconds to fire 8 projectiles in all directions. Splits into 2 smaller versions of itself as health decreases. Smaller versions fire 8 projectiles in all directions. Splits into 3 smallest versions of itself as health decreases. Smallest versions fire 4 projectiles diagonally. Weaknesses, tornado weapon, ricochet, slow projectile, piercing, and wingman. Tips, keep your distance. Focus on getting away when they chase you, unless you have a lot of damage to take them out before they reach you. When the spider pauses, that means it will fire its projectiles. If you do not have good abilities or high damaging abilities, they can be challenging when they chase you. When the spider is split into 2, try and attack only one of them first. If you attack them both, they will both split into 3, which can be pretty overwhelming. However, if you have the tornado or good abilities, this will not be as bad. If you don't want the devil in this chapter, take damage before splitting the largest version, as the largest version always grants health. Anything after is by chance. Variations, take out the mobs as soon as you can. The first variation is just the spider by itself, straightforward. The second variation is bats. There are 3 bats, one on the left, right, and straight on the top from where you enter. Just move straight to the right diagonally as soon as you enter. These bats will hover slowly towards you and then dash. Third variation, spiders. This has 2 on the map. These are the smallest versions of the big spider. These small ones also shoot out projectiles, but do not split. The fourth variation is the fire bombs. There will be 2 on the map. They will throw bombs at you that leave a damaging flame. Slow attack speed, easy to avoid. The last variation, is the blue spiders. There will be 4 on the level. Just small spiders that do not fire projectiles. They walk around aimlessly on the map. Second easiest variation. Now moving on to the last boss, boss number 4, the bouncing skull. Difficulty, easy to average, depending on what weapon or what abilities you have. Pattern, bouncing around the room once it reaches a wall. Does not directly go after you. Similar to the spider boss without the projectiles. Starts with one big skull. Big skull splits into 2 small skulls split into 2 smaller skulls, and then the smaller skulls split into 2 smaller skulls. Splits 3 times in total. This was kind of a tongue twister. Every time they split, they have a speed boost for a very short duration. Weaknesses, ricochet, piercing, and tornado weapon. Tips, do not stand in one place for too long. Try and focus on splitting one of the biggest ones first. If you do both, it can be overwhelming. This will make it harder to dodge. When you split a skull, make sure you're not close to it. This is due to the speed boost, which would most likely hit you. Once split, you also don't know which direction they will go. If you have any freeze or ice abilities, this will change the direction of the skull without having to bounce off the wall. If you want to avoid the devil, then you should take damage pretty early. There is no guaranteed heal with this boss. For variations, take out the mobs first while the boss is still one big skull. Variation 1, archers. Stand there for a second to set in the archer's attack and then move out of the way. One archer will be placed on the bottom right corner and one will be at the top left corner. Focus on attacking the archers first. Second variation, golden skulls. The gold skulls will split into 2 smaller white skulls. Take out 1 gold skull at a time. Third variation, skulls. 4 small skulls. They do not split. Fourth variation, wolves. Focus on attacking the wolves. Keep note, the wolves attack in all directions, but they do not directly go after you. Keep your distance for a better chance at avoiding their attacks. And the last variation, the trees. Trees that fire projectiles right, left, up, and down. One will spawn on the right of you and one on the top left. Caution with the one on the right. If you not kill the one on the right fast enough, the projectile may hit you. And that is all for the Section 1 bosses of Chapter 7. I will leave a link in the description box down below if you need help with the Section 2 and 3 bosses. Please do subscribe and click the bell to be notified for more Archero guides, tier lists, updates, and more. A like and comment would be super rad, and I thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again. Bye!